If you're over 60 and you eat eggs, and I know most of you do, there are 3 foods you are almost certainly eating with them right now that are quietly canceling out every single benefit. Not reducing them, canceling them. And the worst part? 2 of those 3 foods are ones that most people genuinely believe are perfectly fine to pair with eggs. Foods that have been on breakfast tables for decades. Foods that look healthy on the outside. But inside your body after 60, the story is very different. Now before I tell you which 3 foods they are, I need you to understand something about eggs that most people over 60 have never been properly told. Because this changes everything. After 60, your body's ability to absorb and use nutrients is not the same as it was at 40. Your metabolism runs differently. Your liver processes things more slowly. Your insulin sensitivity has naturally declined. And the foods you combine with what you eat matter far more now than they ever did when you were younger. The combinations that were merely suboptimal at 40 can become genuinely problematic at 60 and beyond. And that is the conversation nobody is having with you. Eggs, when your body can actually use them properly, are one of the most powerful foods available to you at this stage of life. I want to be very clear about that, because I don't want anyone walking away from this video thinking eggs are the problem. They are not. A single egg contains all 9 essential amino acids. That means it delivers what scientists call a complete protein, and after 60, complete protein is one of the most critical things your muscles, your bones, and your immune system need. Eggs contain choline, a nutrient your brain uses to build the neurotransmitters that protect your memory and your cognitive function. And after 60, cognitive protection is not a luxury. It is a priority. Eggs contain lutein and zeaxanthin, the compounds that protect the macula of your eye from the kind of degeneration that quietly steals vision in your 60s and 70s. They contain vitamin D, which most people over 60 are already deficient in. Vitamin B12, which your body absorbs less efficiently as you age, and which is essential for nerve health and energy. Selenium, which is a cornerstone of your body's antioxidant defenses. And a fat profile in that yolk, particularly the phospholipids and the healthy cholesterol, that, when understood properly, actively supports your cardiovascular system rather than harming it. The yolk alone is doing more meaningful work for your body after 60 than almost anything else you could put on your breakfast plate. And yet, 3 foods that most people eat with eggs every single morning are quietly unraveling all of that. And today I am going to show you exactly which 3 they are, exactly what they are doing inside your body, and exactly how to fix it without giving up the breakfast you love. I'm Dr. May Anderson, and this is Vital Health Seniors, where we talk about the specific, real, science-backed ways your body changes after 60, and what that actually means for how you eat, how you move, and how you feel every single day. Before I get into food number 1, I want to ask you something. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, do you eat eggs every day? And what do you normally pair them with? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next on this channel. So tell me, eggs every day, and what goes with them? Now, food number 1. The first food that is canceling what eggs do for you after 60 is something that is sitting on millions of breakfast tables right now, right next to a plate of eggs, and it has a health halo around it that it simply does not deserve. That food is fruit juice, orange juice, apple juice, any commercially processed juice, and even freshly squeezed juice in the quantities most people drink it. And I want to explain exactly what is happening inside your body when you drink it with your eggs, because once you understand this, I promise you, you will never look at that glass the same way again. Here is what fruit juice actually is, from the perspective of your body after 60. It is not fruit. It is concentrated sugar, specifically a type of sugar called fructose, with almost all of the fiber removed. And that distinction matters enormously. When you eat a whole orange, the fiber slows down how fast the sugar enters your system. Your body handles it gradually. The volume of the fruit limits how much sugar you can physically consume. But when that same orange is juiced, you remove almost all of the fiber, and what remains is a concentrated liquid dose of fructose that hits your bloodstream very fast. 1 glass of orange juice can contain the fructose equivalent of 3 or 4 whole oranges. And your body receives all of that at once. Now, fructose is not processed the way regular glucose is. Fructose bypasses normal energy metabolism and goes almost entirely to your liver for processing. And here is where your age matters critically. After 60, your liver is not as efficient at handling a sudden, large load of fructose as it was decades ago. When that juice hits your system at the same moment as the fats and proteins from your eggs, your liver is being asked to do two very demanding jobs simultaneously. On one hand, it is receiving a concentrated flood of fructose and beginning to convert much of it into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis, which literally means the creation of new fat from non-fat sources. On the other hand, it is trying to process and transport the beneficial fats and cholesterol from your egg yolk, the very fats that are supposed to go to your brain, your cell membranes, your hormones, your cardiovascular system. The result of those two processes competing at the same time is that your triglycerides go up. Triglycerides are fats that circulate in your bloodstream, and elevated triglycerides are one of the clearest markers of cardiovascular risk. The cardiovascular benefits that eggs, eaten on their own, genuinely provide, the shifting of LDL cholesterol toward the larger, safer pattern, the phospholipid support for arterial health, those benefits are being directly undermined by the triglyceride load that the juice is creating at the same time. And there is something else happening that specifically concerns me for people over 60, the oxidative stress generated by a large hit of fructose. Through something called reactive oxygen species, essentially free radicals, is damaging the fats in your egg yolk. If you are eating pasture-raised eggs, those yolks contain beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. Those omega-3s are vulnerable to oxidation. In a fructose-heavy metabolic environment, those beneficial fats can be oxidized and actually become harmful rather than protective. You sat down to what looked like a genuinely healthy breakfast. Inside your body, after 60, it is two foods working directly against each other in ways that have real, measurable consequences. Now multiply that by 7 mornings a week, by 52 weeks a year. That is what enormous numbers of people over 60 are doing every single morning, completely unaware that the glass of juice they poured because they thought it was healthy is quietly dismantling the benefits of the eggs sitting next to it. The fix is not complicated, and it costs you nothing. Eat the whole orange instead of the juice. One whole orange. The fiber changes everything about how that sugar enters your system. Your liver can handle it. The fructose arrives slowly, your body processes it efficiently, and your eggs are free to do their job without interference. Or simply have water with your eggs and save the fruit for an hour later, on its own or with a small amount of protein. That single change, juice to whole fruit, or juice to water, protects everything the egg is trying to do for your body after 60. Now let's talk about food number 2. And this one surprises people, because it has been on breakfast tables their entire lives and nobody has ever questioned it. It feels so normal, so familiar, so harmless, that the idea that it could be working against you seems almost impossible. But stay with me, because what happens inside your body after 60 when you eat this food with eggs is genuinely important to understand. The second food is bread. Specifically, white bread or any bread made from refined flour, which, if you're honest with yourself, is most of the bread in most kitchens. The kind that most people toast and put next to their eggs without a second thought. Now here is what refined bread actually is when it enters your body. The processing strips away the fiber, the germ, and the bran, leaving behind almost pure starch. And that starch is essentially predigested. Your gut barely has to work at all. That starch hits your bloodstream as glucose almost immediately. Your blood sugar spikes, and it spikes fast. And here is why this matters specifically, particularly acutely, for people over 60. As we age, our insulin sensitivity naturally declines. Our cells do not respond to the insulin signal as efficiently as they did at 30 or 40. So when refined bread causes a rapid blood sugar spike and your pancreas responds by releasing insulin, the insulin response after 60 is larger, lasts longer, and creates more metabolic disruption than the same meal would have caused 20 years ago. Your body has to work significantly harder to manage a blood sugar spike at 65 than it did at 45. And while that spike is happening, while your body is flooded with insulin trying to manage the glucose from that toast, The nutrients from your eggs are being caught in the crossfire. The fats from your egg yolk, instead of being transported to your brain, your cell membranes, your hormones, your joints, are being redirected into fat storage, because that is what elevated insulin promotes. The choline that was going to build acetylcholine in your brain and protect your memory is now competing with a metabolic environment dominated by glucose mismanagement. The vitamin D and vitamin K in your egg, fat-soluble vitamins that depend on the egg's own fat to be absorbed, are compromised in a high insulin environment. And then there is something I want to talk about that particularly matters after 60. When rapidly digesting starch meets the protein in your eggs in a high-glucose internal environment, it accelerates a process called glycation. Glycation is when sugar molecules bond to proteins and fats in your body and damage them. It stiffens blood vessels. It contributes to the clouding of the lens in your eye. It accelerates the kind of cellular aging that people over 60 are working hardest to slow down. Eggs by themselves do not cause glycation. Refined bread by itself causes some. But the combination, eggs plus refined bread, creating this glucose-flooded, high-insulin, protein-rich internal environment, accelerates that glycation process in ways that neither food would produce alone. I actually go into the specific ways glycation affects the body after 60 in quite a lot of depth in my book Feel 10 Years Younger in 30 Days. I'll leave the link in the description below for anyone who wants to understand this more deeply. But the core point for right now is this. You are not just missing the full benefit of your eggs when you eat them with refined bread. You may be actively accelerating a process you absolutely do not want to accelerate at this stage of life. The fix, again, is not about deprivation. If you love something with your eggs in the morning, choose whole grain sourdough. The fermentation process significantly changes how your body handles the starch, and the impact on your blood sugar is genuinely different. Sweet potato is another excellent option. Or best of all, pair your eggs with non-starchy vegetables. Spinach, mushrooms, tomatoes, avocado. You keep everything you enjoy about a proper, satisfying breakfast. You remove the metabolic conflict. And your eggs can finally do what they have been trying to do for you all along. Now, I need you to stay with me for food number 3, because this is the one I told you at the very beginning to pay close attention to. This is not about absorption pathways or insulin spikes. This is about what happens at a chemical level, inside the pan, and then inside your body, when this food and eggs are cooked together. And what I am about to describe involves a compound that the World Health Organization classifies as a probable human carcinogen. So I want you to stay with me, and I want you to listen carefully, because this is the part that most people have genuinely never heard. The third food is processed breakfast meat. Bacon. Sausage. Any breakfast meat that has been cured, smoked, or preserved with nitrates or nitrites. And I know what you are thinking. Bacon and eggs. It is practically a tradition. It is on every diner menu, every hotel breakfast buffet, every weekend breakfast table. It is one of the most deeply normalized food combinations in the world. And that is exactly why this conversation needs to happen. Because the more normal something is, the less anyone ever questions it. And nobody has been asking you to question this one. Let me explain what is happening at a chemical level when you cook bacon or sausage in the same pan as your eggs. When meat is cured or preserved, manufacturers add sodium nitrite as a preservative. Sodium nitrite is not in itself the main concern. The concern is what happens to it during cooking at high heat, and what happens to it when it comes into contact with something specific that is present in the pan alongside it. Eggs are one of the richest sources of amino acids, the building blocks of protein, in the entire human diet. When you cook bacon or sausage alongside eggs in the same pan, at the same high heat, the amino acids from the egg come into direct contact with the nitrites and nitrite-related compounds releasing from the processed meat. And under high heat, those amino acids and those nitrites react to form compounds called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are classified as probable human carcinogens by the World Health Organization. They have been linked in multiple large-scale studies to increased risk of colorectal cancer, stomach cancer, and pancreatic cancer. And here is the part that is critical to understand. This reaction, the formation of nitrosamines, is measurably amplified by the presence of amino acids. Research has demonstrated that cooking nitrite-containing meats alongside high-protein foods under heat creates significantly higher concentrations of nitrosamine compounds than cooking that same meat without the protein source present. The egg, which on its own is one of the most healing, nourishing foods available to you, is being used by the chemistry in that pan to amplify a harmful compound. Not because of anything wrong with the egg, but because of the specific chemical interaction between its amino acids and the nitrites in the processed meat under heat. Now I want to talk about why this is even more specifically concerning after 60. Your body's antioxidant systems, the internal defenses that neutralize the kind of oxidative and chemical damage we are describing, are less robust after 60 than they were at 40. That is simply the biology of aging. One of the key antioxidant compounds your body relies on is glutathione peroxidase, and one of its essential building blocks is selenium. Eggs are an excellent source of selenium. Under normal circumstances, that selenium is helping your body protect against oxidative damage throughout the day. But when you flood your system with the level of oxidative stress and chemical burden that comes from regularly eating processed meat, the selenium from your eggs is being spent, entirely consumed, trying to neutralize the damage created by the bacon sitting beside them in the pan. The protective capacity the egg was providing is being used up cleaning the mess the processed meat created. The egg is working against itself. And after 60, when your antioxidant reserves are naturally lower and your repair mechanisms are naturally slower, that is a burden your body is less equipped to manage than it was 2 decades ago. There is also the matter of the sodium load from processed breakfast meat, which can be anywhere from 500 to over 1,000 milligrams in a single serving. After 60, elevated sodium has a more pronounced effect on blood pressure and vascular inflammation than it did at younger ages. And the choline in your egg yolk, which is supposed to be protecting your cardiovascular system through healthy methylation pathways, is now competing with the endothelial inflammation that chronic high sodium intake drives. You are genuinely trying to put out a fire with one hand while the other hand pours on the accelerant. The fix here is not to give up protein with your eggs. A savory, protein-rich breakfast is a wonderful thing, and I want you to have it. The answer is simply to choose unprocessed protein. Grilled chicken, turkey that has not been cured or treated with nitrites, smoked salmon without added preservatives. And salmon is actually a particularly good partner for eggs, because the omega-3 fats in the salmon work alongside the nutrients in the egg rather than against them. Simply shift to unprocessed protein, cook at moderate rather than extreme heat, and the chemistry of your breakfast changes entirely. The nitrosamine reaction does not occur. The selenium in your eggs is free to do its actual job. Your body gets the full benefit of everything on that plate. Now I want to tell you about someone I'll call Robert. Robert came to me at 68 years old, recently retired, proud of the fact that he had eaten eggs every single morning for years. He genuinely believed he was doing the right thing. Eggs every morning. He had read about the protein, the choline, the nutrition. He had made a deliberate decision, but his energy was declining. His blood pressure was creeping upward despite medication. His triglycerides were elevated. His doctor kept adjusting things, and Robert kept wondering why he didn't feel the way he thought he should feel, given how carefully he was eating. When I sat down with Robert and asked him about his typical breakfast, he described it without hesitation. 2 eggs scrambled, 2 slices of white toast, a glass of orange juice, and bacon. 3 or 4 rashers, cooked in the same pan as the eggs, almost every morning. He said it with the confidence of someone who had never once been given a reason to question it. We did not tell Robert to stop eating eggs. We told him what to stop eating with them. We replaced the juice with water and a whole orange eaten separately, later in the morning. We replaced the white toast with sourdough 2 or 3 times a week and sweet potato or sautéed vegetables on the other days. We replaced the bacon with either smoked salmon, or simply an extra egg with some spinach and mushrooms. Within 3 weeks, Robert contacted me to say his energy after breakfast felt different, more sustained. He was not hitting the mid-morning slump he had simply accepted as part of life at 68. Within 3 months, working alongside his own doctor, his triglycerides had come down meaningfully. His blood pressure readings were more stable. And he told me something that I find myself thinking about often. He said, "I was not eating badly. I was just eating wrongly together." And that, in one sentence, is exactly what this video is about. His story, and the stories of so many people like him that I have worked with, is actually what gave me the foundation for a lot of the practical guidance in my book Feel 10 Years Younger in 30 Days. It is full of exactly this kind of thing, specific actionable changes that do not ask you to overhaul your life, just to understand your body a little better. The link is in the description below, and if today's video resonated with you, I think you will find it genuinely useful. But let me bring everything together now, because I want you to leave this video feeling equipped, not frightened, not overwhelmed, not like breakfast has become a science experiment, just equipped. Eggs are extraordinary. The science on this has never been stronger. And this is especially true after 60, when your body needs the complete protein, the choline, the lutein, the selenium, the fat-soluble vitamins more than at almost any other point in your life. The egg was never the problem. It never was. The problem was, and continues to be, what we place around it. Fruit juice floods your liver with concentrated fructose at the same moment your egg's beneficial fats are trying to be processed and transported. The result is elevated triglycerides, oxidative damage to the omega-3s in the yolk, and a metabolic environment that undermines the cardiovascular protection eggs are genuinely capable of providing. Swap the juice for a whole orange or a glass of water. That single change protects everything. Refined bread causes a rapid blood sugar spike that, after 60, triggers a larger and more disruptive insulin response than it would have at 40. That insulin response redirects your egg's nutrients away from your brain, your hormones, and your cell membranes and into fat storage. It accelerates the glycation process that ages your blood vessels and your tissues from the inside. Swap the refined bread for sourdough, for sweet potato, for vegetables alongside your eggs. The satisfaction stays. The metabolic conflict disappears. And processed breakfast meat, bacon, cured sausage, preserved ham, combines with the amino acids in your eggs under heat to produce nitrosamines that the World Health Organization classifies as probable human carcinogens. It simultaneously depletes the selenium that your eggs were providing for antioxidant protection, and adds a sodium load that inflames the very vascular system your egg's choline was working to protect. Swap the processed meat for unprocessed protein, salmon, grilled chicken, uncured turkey. Cook at moderate heat. The chemistry changes. The breakfast stays. You do not have to make this complicated. You do not have to give up a satisfying breakfast. You do not have to count anything or weigh anything or turn your morning into a stressful calculation. You simply need to understand your body well enough to work with it rather than against it. Because your body is not working against you. It never is. Every response we talked about today, the insulin spike, the liver's handling of fructose, the nitrosamine chemistry, all of it is your body doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that certain food combinations, eaten repeatedly, every day, for decades, create inputs that the body after 60 was never designed to handle without consequence. The research on eggs has done a near-complete reversal from where it stood 30 years ago. We spent a generation telling people to fear the yolk, to eat only whites, to treat dietary cholesterol as poison. In doing so, we missed the actual story entirely. Because while people were discarding their yolks and eating egg white omelets with white toast and a large glass of orange juice, they were throwing away the most nutritionally dense part of the egg, and replacing it with the very combinations that dismantled everything the egg could have offered. Science moves forward. And when it does, the honest thing to do is move with it. Eggs paired with vegetables, with whole fruit eaten separately, with unprocessed protein, with avocado. These are combinations that honor what an egg is actually capable of doing for your body after 60. Start there, and you will feel the difference. Not just in how you feel after breakfast. In your energy through the morning. In your mental clarity. In the slow, steady, cumulative protection against the chronic conditions that matter most at this stage of life. You have been making a good choice every morning by choosing eggs. Now you have what you need to make it a great one. If this video gave you something genuinely useful, and I hope it did, please hit the subscribe button right now. On Vital Health Seniors, Everything I make is specifically for people over 60, not generic health advice. Not content written for a 35-year-old and labeled as suitable for seniors. The specific, real, biology-based changes that happen after 60 and what they mean for how you eat and how you feel. You deserve content that was actually made for you. So subscribe and you will not miss what comes next. And please hit the like button before you go. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that this video is worth showing to more people over 60 who are eating eggs with the wrong things every morning and genuinely do not know it yet. That one tap helps this information reach the people who need it most. Now leave me a comment below. I want to know which of these 3 surprised you most. Was it the juice, the bread, or the bacon? Tell me in the comments. And if you have a question about what you can pair with eggs that will actually work with your body rather than against it, ask me below. I answer. And if someone in your life, your partner, a sibling, a friend, is still starting their morning with bacon, toast, and a glass of orange juice alongside their eggs every single day, please share this video with them. You might genuinely change how their body is handling the most important meal of the day. That matters more than you know. Now, one more thing before you go. And this is for those of you who have noticed something that many people over 60 find deeply confusing. Some of you have told me that your highest blood sugar reading of the entire day comes first thing in the morning, before you have eaten a single bite. You fasted all night. You did everything right. And the number went up anyway. There is a very specific reason your body does that after 60. It has a name. It has a mechanism. And there is a specific practical way to address it. I have made a video that explains exactly what is happening overnight, and exactly what to do about it. I will put it right here. Watch that one next. I will see you there.